Today I picked up a fairly new-looking knife from the road. It still looks in good shape, but the blade has gone dull. Let's take a closer look and see just how dull it is. When I try cutting paper, I have to use quite a bit of wrist force, and even then it only tears the paper instead of making a clean cut. Let's switch over and try cutting a tomato to see how it performs. And as you can see, instead of slicing the tomato cleanly, I just ended up crushing it. If you're dealing with the same problem and not sure how to sharpen your knife the right way, don't worry, give me a moment to think. Alright, I've got an idea. I'm pretty sure most people here wouldn't expect this, but charcoal can be surprisingly effective when it comes to sharpening a dull blade. When crushed into a fine powder, charcoal turns into a natural abrasive with a very consistent texture. Those tiny particles create just the right amount of friction, helping to smooth out the blade without being too aggressive. What makes charcoal especially useful is its porous structure. It grips and holds onto fine debris during sharpening, keeping the surface cleaner and more controlled. When you combine that powdered charcoal with a sharpening stone, it works like a subtle polishing compound, improving the contact between the blade and the stone. The result is a smoother, more refined edge that's easier to achieve than you might think. The two sharpening stones here come with 4 different grit levels, 240 and 800 on the first stone, then 1000 and 3000 on the second. The 240 grit is designed for heavy material removal, helping reshape a worn or damaged edge and quickly bring it back into form. The 800 grit follows by refining those coarse scratches, creating a more even and controlled edge. Moving into the finer range, the 1000 grit focuses on true sharpening, smoothing the edge further and improving its cutting performance. Finally, the 3000 grit handles the fine polishing stage, reducing microscopic imperfections and leaving the blade with a smoother, cleaner edge that cuts more effortlessly. Before using them, these stones are typically soaked in water so the surface stays well lubricated, helping reduce friction, carry away metal particles, and keep the sharpening process more consistent. Before sharpening, take a moment to practice the motion at a steady angle, around 15 to 20 degrees, and apply light, even pressure as you move the blade along the stone. This helps you build control and consistency so when you start for real, each stroke stays smooth, even, and accurate. But if you're not used to holding a steady 20-degree angle, there's no need to worry. A small plastic tube with a hole about the size of your fingertip can help guide you. Get one ready, then make a straight cut along its length so it can clip onto the spine of the knife. Once it's in place, it acts as a simple guide, keeping the sharpening angle consistent and accurate as you work. At this sharpening stage, don't forget to sprinkle a bit of charcoal powder onto the stone. It adds a fine abrasive layer, helping increase friction and making the sharpening process smoother and more effective. Then spray a bit of water onto the stone before you start sharpening. The water helps activate the surface, keeps everything lubricated, and allows the charcoal powder to spread more evenly, making the sharpening process smoother and more consistent. And just like that, the kitchen knife is done with the sharpening process. Now it's time to put it to a real test and see how it performs. And now you can really feel the difference. Each cut is clean, smooth, and almost effortless, as if the blade just glides through with perfect control. That's the kind of edge you get when everything works together just right. The charcoal powder adds that fine, controlled friction, while the sharpening stone builds and refines the edge step by step. It's a simple combination, but the result speaks for itself. A sharper, cleaner, more precise cutting experience from start to finish.